The sound of a slap echoed through the small house like thunder. Plates shook on the wooden shelf. A man's cheek turned red as his head snapped to the side. "You're useless!" Maria screamed, her voice sharp and full of rage. "Every single day, you sit here like a dead man. No job, no money, nothing. What kind of husband are you, Daniel?" Daniel didn't speak. He stood still, eyes on the floor, his hands trembling slightly. This was not the first time. It wasn't even the worst time. It had become a routine, every night, every argument, every reminder that he had failed. She hit him again. Not with her hand this time, but with words. Words sharper than knives. "You know what I did today?" Maria said bitterly. "I went out with a man who actually works. He bought me dinner. He made me laugh. He doesn't sit at home crying about his bad luck." Daniel's heart stopped. He already knew. He had seen the messages on her phone. The late-night calls. The perfume that wasn't his. But still, he said nothing. He just whispered, "I'll find a job soon, Maria." She laughed, a cold, heartless laugh. "You've been saying that for 2 years. Do you think hope feeds people? Do you think love pays rent?" She pushed him, and he stumbled backward. That was the moment he realized he wasn't living anymore. He was surviving inside a prison that used to be a home. A few months earlier, things had been so different. Daniel had been a construction worker, strong, proud, and hardworking. He woke up early every morning, kissed Maria on the forehead, and promised her a better life. They dreamed of buying a small car, maybe having a baby one day. Then, one afternoon, the site where he worked had an accident. A steel beam fell and crushed his leg. The company paid him a small amount and told him he could no longer work. That's when everything began to fall apart. At first, Maria was kind. She took care of him, cooked his favorite soup, told him everything would be fine. But kindness has an expiry date when love is shallow. When the money ran out, so did her patience. She started shouting, then hitting, then cheating. And Daniel, broken, jobless, limping, watched the woman he loved turn into a stranger. He still believed she'd come back to him. He still believed she loved him, somewhere deep inside. One night, as the rain poured heavily outside, Maria came home late again. Her makeup was smudged, and her perfume smelled like another man's cologne. "Where were you?" Daniel asked softly. She glared at him. "Don't question me. You don't own me." "I just wanted to know." "Shut up," she yelled, throwing her bag across the room. "You can't even pay for food, Daniel. You think you get to ask me where I go?" He tried to hold her hand. "Maria, please. I'm trying. I'm still your husband." She slapped his hand away and screamed, "You're nothing. Do you understand? Nothing." Then she pushed him so hard that he fell. His bad leg hit the edge of the table, and he cried out in pain. Maria stood there, breathing heavily, staring at him with a strange mix of disgust and satisfaction. "Look at you," she said. "Pathetic." And she walked away to their bedroom, slamming the door behind her. That night, Daniel didn't sleep. He sat in the dark, listening to the rain hit the roof, the clock ticking loudly in the quiet room. He wanted to leave, but where would he go? He had no job, no family nearby, no one who cared. He wanted to fight, but how could he, when his body refused to move the way it used to? He wanted to die, but something inside him whispered, "Not yet." And then, as lightning flashed across the room, he saw something on the table, Maria's phone, left unlocked. Curiosity pulled him closer. His hand shook as he picked it up. There were dozens of messages from a man named Victor. Daniel read them slowly, each word cutting deeper. "You deserve better than him. Leave that loser. I'll give you the life you want. Tomorrow night, let's run away together." His heart pounded. He felt heat rise in his chest, not anger, not jealousy, but something else. Something quiet. Something dark. He stared at the last message Maria sent to Victor that evening. "Tomorrow. After dinner. He won't stop us. He's too weak to do anything. And for the first time in 2 years, Daniel smiled. A small, cold smile. Because tomorrow would not go the way Maria planned. Morning sunlight crept through the torn curtains, painting long shadows across the room. Daniel sat quietly at the edge of the bed, his face pale, his eyes hollow. Maria was humming in the kitchen, her voice sharp and cold like broken glass. She was in a good mood. She always was when she had plans that didn't include him. Daniel's hand brushed over the phone he had placed back on the table the night before. He had read every message, every lie. He knew everything now. But he didn't feel rage. He didn't even feel sadness anymore. He just felt calm. The kind of calm that comes when pain becomes too heavy to carry. At breakfast, Maria sat across from him, scrolling through her phone with a smirk. "Why are you staring?" she said without looking up. "Just thinking," Daniel replied softly. "About what? Finding a job again? You should stop dreaming. No one wants a broken man." He nodded slowly. "Maybe you're right." She snorted and stood up, grabbing her purse. "I have somewhere to be." "I know," he said. His voice was quiet, but something in his tone made her pause for a second. "What's that supposed to mean?" she asked. "Nothing," he replied, smiling faintly. "Just be careful today. The world is full of surprises." She rolled her eyes. "You're weird." Then she walked out the door. When the sound of her heels faded down the street, Daniel took a deep breath. He opened the drawer beside the bed and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside was an old photo of them on their wedding day, smiling, young, full of dreams. He stared at it for a long moment before setting it aside. Underneath the photo was something else, an envelope. Inside the envelope were hospital bills, unpaid rent notices, and a small letter from his old friend, Mr. Lewis, who ran a mechanic shop on the edge of town. Daniel hadn't spoken to him in years, but that letter had said, "If you ever need help, come see me. You're a good man, Daniel. Don't give up yet." For the first time in a long time, Daniel had a thought that wasn't about pain, it was about possibility. Maria didn't come home that afternoon. She spent the day with Victor, the man who whispered promises she wanted to hear. They sat in his fancy car, laughing and drinking, while Daniel was at the old workshop, standing in front of Mr. Lewis. "Daniel, I can't believe it's you," the old man said. "It's been ages." Daniel smiled weakly. "Yeah, I've been away." "I heard about your accident," Lewis said, his eyes soft with pity. "How's your leg?" "It hurts sometimes," Daniel said. "But I can still move. I just need something to do. Anything." Lewis nodded. "You want work?" "I don't need money," Daniel said. "I need purpose." The old man studied him for a while. "You've got that look in your eyes, son. The look of someone who's been broken too long. You sure you're okay?" Daniel gave a slow, empty smile. "No, I'm not okay. But I will be." That night, Maria came home late again. The smell of another man's cologne clung to her skin. Daniel was waiting at the table, quiet as a shadow. A single candle burned between them. She frowned. "What's this? Some kind of romantic dinner? You think that'll fix anything?" "No," he said. "I just wanted to talk." "Talk?" She laughed cruelly. "You never learn, do you?" Daniel looked at her carefully. "I know about him. About Victor." Her face froze for a second, but only a second. Then she smirked. "So what if you do? What are you going to do about it? Cry?" "No," Daniel said softly. "I already did that." She crossed her arms, amused. "Then what, Daniel? Going to hit me? You don't have the strength." He stood up slowly. "You're right. I don't." He turned away, grabbed his coat, and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" she snapped. He stopped and looked back at her. "To change my life." Maria burst into laughter. "You? Change your life? Don't make me laugh. You can't even stand on your own 2 feet without pain. Daniel smiled, calm, steady. You'll see, Maria. Tomorrow, everything changes. He walked out, leaving her standing there, confused and angry. That night, she couldn't sleep. His words echoed in her mind. Tomorrow, everything changes. Was it a threat? A warning? A joke? She tossed and turned, until finally, she drifted off. But she didn't know that Daniel was already far away, walking under the cold night sky, heading toward the mechanic shop. He had a plan now. Not for revenge. Not for escape. For rebirth. Because for the first time in years, he realized something powerful. He didn't have to destroy her to win. He just had to stop letting her destroy him. The morning air smelled of oil and rust. Daniel stood in front of the mechanic shop, his limp more visible than ever but his face, calmer, stronger. Mr. Lewis handed him a rag and pointed toward an old car. Let's start small, he said. You remember how to fix these? Daniel smiled faintly. I never forgot. For the first time in years, his hands had purpose again. The metal felt cold but honest, not like Maria's words, not like the fake comfort of a home that no longer loved him. Every bolt he turned, every spark that lit, reminded him he was still alive. As the days passed, Daniel began coming to the shop early and leaving late. His body hurt, but the pain gave him focus. His limp didn't stop him anymore. It reminded him that he'd survived. Mr. Lewis noticed the change. You look different, son. Like you've found something again. Daniel nodded. I think I have. Meanwhile, Maria's world was changing too, but not for the better. Victor, her perfect man, had started showing his true face. At first, he was charming, buying her dresses, taking her to restaurants, whispering that she deserved better than her husband. But now, he was distant. His messages grew short. His tone turned cold. One evening, when she called him, he didn't pick up. When he finally answered, his voice was sharp. Maria, I'm Busse. Stop calling me all the time. Her heart sank. But you said we'd move in together. Victor laughed. That was before I realized how dramatic you are. Maybe your husband wasn't the problem after all. And then the line went dead. Maria stood in her small, empty house, the same house where she had screamed, hit, and cursed the man who once worshipped her, and suddenly, it felt hollow. For the first time, she felt afraid. A week passed before Daniel came home again. When Maria opened the door and saw him standing there, cleaner clothes, a slight smile, a quiet confidence, she almost didn't recognize him. Where have you been? She demanded. I thought you left for good. I did, he said softly. I left the man you used to hit. He's gone. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm not your punching bag anymore. She crossed her arms. You think working in that dirty shop makes you a man again? No, Daniel said. It just reminded me I always was one. Maria sneered. You think you can survive without me? He looked at her with calm eyes. I already am. She froze. For the first time, her insults didn't land. Her power didn't work. Something had changed. Over the next few days, Maria watched him in confusion. He no longer argued. He didn't cry. He didn't ask for her attention or forgiveness. He simply existed, quiet, strong, peaceful. He started fixing things around the house, the broken chair, the leaking faucet, things he hadn't touched in months. When she mocked him, he didn't respond. When she screamed, he left the room. It made her angry. Not because he was weak, but because he was finally strong and she couldn't control him anymore. One night, she followed him secretly. She wanted to know where he went every evening. She saw him stop by the shop, talking to Mr. Lewis, laughing like a man reborn. Then she saw something else, a woman, young and kind-looking, handing Daniel a cup of tea. She smiled warmly at him, and he smiled back. Maria's stomach twisted. Jealousy burned through her. When Daniel came home that night, she was waiting. Who is she? Maria demanded. Daniel looked at her calmly. Her name is Grace. She works at the shop next door. Maria's eyes flashed. You're cheating on me. Daniel laughed softly, a sound Maria had never heard from him before. Cheating? No, Maria. I don't cheat. I don't lie. I don't hit people I claim to love. Don't talk to me like that, she shouted. You're still my husband. No, he said firmly. I was your husband. You stopped being my wife a long time ago. She stepped forward, trembling with anger. You think you can leave me, Daniel? You think anyone will want a broken man like you? He looked at her, steady as stone. Someone already does because she sees what you never did. Maria's face went pale. You wouldn't dare. Daniel turned to leave. I already did. That night, Maria sat alone at the table, the silence pressing against her chest like a weight. She had power for so long, the kind that feeds on fear and weakness. But now, her victim had walked away. And without him, she was nothing. She picked up her phone and tried calling Victor again. No answer. She tried again. Still nothing. Her eyes filled with tears she didn't expect. For the first time, she whispered, Daniel, come back. But he didn't hear. He was already far away, not just in distance, but in spirit. The man who once begged for her love was gone. And in his place stood someone new, someone unbreakable. The evening sun dipped low over the town, painting everything gold and red, a color between fire and forgiveness. Daniel walked home for the last time. He wasn't going there to stay. He was going to end it, not with anger, not with violence, but with peace. In his bag was a small envelope and a folded paper, his final gift to Maria. When he reached the small house, the same house where his dreams had died and his pain had begun, he found her sitting on the floor, crying. The woman who once shouted, hit, and laughed at his weakness now looked empty. Daniel, she whispered when she saw him. You came back. He nodded slowly. I came to say goodbye. She stood up quickly. No. You can't leave. You can't just walk away after everything. He sighed softly. Maria, I already did. You just didn't notice. She ran toward him, tears falling. I made mistakes, Daniel. I was angry, scared. I didn't know what I was doing. He looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, he didn't see a monster. He saw a broken woman who tried to fill her emptiness by destroying someone else. He took a deep breath. Maria, I forgive you. She froze. What? I forgive you, he repeated. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. She shook her head. No, don't do this. Don't talk like you're better than me. I'm not better, Daniel said. I'm just done. He placed the envelope on the table. That's for you. She opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a set of divorce papers, already signed, and a small note that read, You can keep the house. You can keep everything. I only want my life back. Maria's lip trembled. You can't do this to me. Daniel smiled gently. You already did it to yourself. He turned to leave, but she grabbed his arm. Daniel, please. I have no one. Victor left me. My friends don't talk to me. You were the only one who ever cared. He looked into her eyes, and for a moment, the pain of their shared past flickered between them, all the nights of shouting, all the tears, all the broken love that used to mean something. I did care, Daniel said softly. Maybe too much. But caring for you almost killed me. Now, I have to care for myself. He gently pulled her hand away and walked toward the door. Daniel, she whispered. Will you ever come back? He turned around, his face calm and kind. Maybe one day, when you stop hurting the people who love you. Maybe then, you'll find your own peace. And then he walked out, into the setting sun, into a future that was finally his. Weeks passed. Maria stayed alone in the house. Sometimes she sat by the window, waiting for footsteps that never came. Other times, she stared at the papers on the table, her hands shaking. She had lost everything, not because Daniel left, but because she never learned how to value what she had. One afternoon, she walked to the mechanic shop where Daniel worked. She stood across the street, watching him laugh with Grace and Mr. Lewis. He looked happy, free, alive. And in that moment, she realized the truth. Daniel didn't need revenge. His peace was the revenge. As Daniel wiped the grease from his hands and looked up at the sky, he thought about everything, the pain, the betrayal, the years of silence. He smiled faintly and whispered to himself, "Some storms don't come to destroy you. They come to clear your path." And that was the day the story truly ended. Not with shouting. Not with revenge. But with freedom. Have you ever loved someone who only saw your weakness, not your worth? Have you ever stayed too long hoping they'd change, only to realize you were the one who needed to? Would you have the strength to walk away, not in hate, but in peace, like Daniel did? If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment below. What would you do if you were in Daniel's place? Don't forget to follow for more emotional real-life stories about pain, strength, and finding peace after heartbreak. Never let someone's cruelty convince you that you're worthless. Even broken hearts can rebuild stronger, and sometimes, walking away isn't weakness. It's the beginning of healing.